Kumbe bibi ananipenda na mimi.
Ili kupata skiza tune hiyo ya missed call, kama skiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *961 hash. *811 *961 hash.
Good evening from wherever you're watching us. It's Tuesday, the 23rd of May. Thank you for joining us on this live broadcast, coming to you right here at Broadcasting House. Remember, Tuesday, at the tail end of this broadcast, we have your weekly program, Scorecard. O'Brien having a panel fully constituted. And tonight's topic of discussion, I believe, is petrol. O'Brien, what should we expect?
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll be going back in time and, of course, trying to probe, since we introduced fuel pricing in this country back in the year 2010, why has the price of the commodity more than doubled? Because the whole essence of bringing on board fuel price regulations was to try and depress the cost of the commodity. But why are fuel prices going up? And so tonight we are going to question our fuel pricing model. Can it be improved? Is it effective or is it defective? And so I'll be joined by a team of highly qualified on this issue. And so this is a conversation that's definitely, you can be guaranteed, is going to drive the narrative as well as, you know, policy formulation going forward. So it's going to be a great show.
And I believe Mariambo is also on standby and she'll be breaking for us, looking at how we arrive at the selling price when you get to the pump, the amount of money you get into your pocket and you pay.
You can say that again, brother.
Absolutely, so we don't want to miss that. Well, that coming up later on, but first, an executive summary of what stories we have lined up for you tonight. And this live broadcast begins right now.
Jubilee Party woes deepen as Azimio coalition threatens walkout on bipartisan talks. President William Ruto chairs parliamentary group meeting with Kenya Kwanza MPs, calls for support on government policies. Panic at school, 2 hospitalized as 100 students at Rapogi School exhibit flu-like symptoms.
Many thanks once again for joining us. Our socials at KBC Channel 1. My Twitter handle, if you want to speak to us, at Mboya 24. And who is in charge of our sign language docket? Susan Thuku. Let's begin this live broadcast with our top story. The Registrar of Political Parties, Nderitu, has dismissed claims of playing politics in arbitrating the ongoing wrangles that's facing the Jubilee Party. This comes as opposition leader Raila Amolo Odinga faulted government for allegedly plotting to hijack the party. The party's Secretary General, Jeremiah Kioni, whose legality in the office is a subject of controversy, is threatening to resort to street action to stop the alleged takeover by a splinter group. That report opens our coverage tonight.
The wars facing the DAF party continued to deepen Tuesday as party members trailed their guns on the Registrar of Political Parties, accusing her of playing favourites in arbitrating the case. Claims that the Registrar Nderitu has dismissed.
The decision about the removal of the members was made on Friday. So to us, we have not acted against the law because we made the decision before the orders. So that's leave it as a court process from there.
But even as she confirmed the oust of the party Vice Chair David Murathe and Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni was yet to be concluded by the court, Kioni is now threatening street action, accusing the government of plotting a takeover of the party.
So when you have a team trying to kill or sell a party to the other, the registrar should be on the side of the people who are ready to protect that institution. She has not done that, and we are not comfortable with what she is doing. Kwa hivyo, we have done what we have done. We have done the legal bit of it.
Opposition, supported by opposition leader Raila Odinga, who faulted the government for allegedly frustrating democracy and interfering in Jubilee Party affairs.
Political parties must be allowed to conduct their affairs independently without interference from the state.
And in a new twist, Azimio is threatening to stage a walkout from the bipartisan talks of the alleged interference by the government in Jubilee Party affairs. This comes as female legislators allied to Kenya Kwanza have condemned verbal attacks against nominated MP Sabina Chege during the Monday's National Delegates Conference, which they maintain is symbolic.
Yesterday, the scandalous proceedings at Congress grossly offended the dignity of the Kenyan women.
In this 21st century, we know our space as women. Respect women leaders because they are equal to the task just like the men. And that is why we go to the ballot with them.
Yusufar reporting for Prime Edition.
President William Ruto Tuesday chaired a parliamentary group meeting with legislators allied to Kenya Kwanza that sought to rally legislators to support the proposed finance bill that will aid the government in meeting its financial commitments. A bill that has generated debate across the country, with a section of opposition members of parliament threatening to reject sections of that bill. Treasury Cabinet Secretary is expected to present the budget in a joint sitting of Parliament on the 10th of June. We will be following that for you. The National Assembly, of course, resuming its sitting on the 6th of June ahead of the budget reading. The meeting was also attended by rebel MPs from the Jubilee Party who were expelled during a special National Delegates Conference held by the party Monday. President Ruto also called for deepened collaboration with the Kenya Kwanza MPs, promising to continually consult in the running of government.
We will continuously be a house that consults so that together we can share on ideas and we can have suggestions and we can persuade one another. We are one team. We were elected together on the same side. And therefore, we are running this government together, you from the legislature and the rest of us from the executive. So it is a collabo of sorts that we are working together.
Your Excellency, you have made it very clear to us in the Cabinet that the elected members in our coalition are the backbone of our programs and our governance, and we must at all times try to align our thinking with their thinking.
Meanwhile, President William Ruto has made 2 new appointments in the Commission of Revenue Allocation, CRA, and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, CRC. In a press statement released by State House spokesperson Hussein Mohammed, the head of state has named Mary Wanyonyi as the chairperson of CRA, taking over from Jane Kirangai, whose 6th term ended. The president has also appointed Dr. Phyllis Wamboi Wagacha as member of the CRC for the next 6 years. The 2 names have been forwarded to Parliament for vetting before they are sworn into office. Let's look at an item here on women in politics. The implementation of the 2/3 gender parity will remain a mirage unless challenges facing women seeking elective positions are addressed. A 2023 report on political analysis of women participation in politics listed high cost of politics, sexual exploitation, believe it or not, and lack of support to young women in politics as high contributors to the low numbers of women elected in office. The report, however, indicates social, cultural practices and the good old patriarchal nature of society that are no longer the main hurdles facing women politicians in a majority of regions in the country.
Stakeholders pushing for the implementation of the 2/3 gender parity have their work cut out if the latest report by the United Nations Women Programme Strategy is anything to go by. The UN Women 2023 report indicates that participation of women in politics and political leadership is still an uphill task in the push to have more women at the decision-making table.
We must understand that this is a political process, right? And politics is about give and take, and it's about interests. And we can also frame things differently to suit our intended outcomes. So I do think that we must support the President's memo insofar as it will give us what we want.
We are hoping that they will be passed, and amongst them is the 2/3 gender rule, that all political parties will be forced and, if possible, given a penalty for those who will not have complied, to ensure that they comply.
The Political Economy Analysis of Women Participation in Politics report, dubbed Pambana, says patriarchy is among the least contributors to factors affecting election of women candidates.
Things are becoming much more complex, and if we identify patriarchy alone, we might be missing the opportunity to dig deep into something that is becoming very complex and untie the things that actually make it rough for women.
The report, however, lists high cost of politics, lack of transparent nominations, political party ownership, sexual exploitation, limited information for women in politics, sexualization and defamation of women as major contributors to few women in the political space.
Any barriers that hinder them from advancing in all spheres of life need to be addressed. These include, among others, the exclusion from decision making, cultural beliefs, and gender-based violence. These have been really key drivers when it comes to barriers and when it comes to women attaining these spaces of political leadership.
The report recommends addressing of stereotypes, formation of progressive alliances for women interested in politics, development of policies to guide the nomination process, and timely disbursement of donor funds as measures to cure the situation. According to the report, the percentage of women elected and nominated from the executive to the ward level is still low, despite having increased from 7 to 10.6% in 2022, a decade since the rollout of devolution in 2010. For Prime Edition, I'm Gladys Mongai.
Well, on to a story we highlighted at the beginning of this broadcast. At least 100 students from Rapogi Boys Secondary School in Uriri, that's in Migori County, were rushed to hospital after, exhibiting flu-like symptoms, sending panic at the learning institution. The school's principal, Erastus Nyagwa, while confirming the incident, said that 2 of the students have been admitted while the rest were treated and discharged.
According to the school's principal, the students exhibited symptoms of dry cough and flu and were rushed to various hospitals in the area.
We took some to level 4, Migori, and others to the sub-county hospital, Uriri. We assigned about 3 teachers to be in charge. So when that was going on, back at school, we had to buy for all the people in the school masks so that the flu would easily be contained. At level 4, we were interested in knowing. At level 4, we were interested in knowing what could be the cause.
However, 2 students who tested positive of malaria are receiving treatment at St. Joseph Ombo Hospital. The school staff and the rest of students, according to the principal, remain under close observation of healthcare workers.
The condition was not that severe, but we decided not to take chances as you are aware, that there is an outbreak of influenza as a viral. That's why we had to take note of the precautions that we can do.
The school's administration, however, ruled out any possibility of COVID-19 infection. Rapogi joins the list of schools reporting mysterious illnesses in the last few months. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Well, tonight there is a strong message being sent from the NHIF to the healthcare service providers. Do not violate your contractual obligations. All that coming up after this short break. Don't go away.
Manake mimi askari wako walipa shingapi? I'm not going, I'm here to stay. You leave this house. Hauna shughuli zingine za kufanya? I am a man of few words. Kisha nikome. Beno. Mimi. Yes, you go. Na mke mwingine maki anaye huyu. Nenda polisi lakini. Unakilo kitani. Heshima unipi Mike. Bafu sana.
Kwa majina naitwa Margaret Muthoni, mkazi wa Rwaka. Nimeshinda microwave, muendelee kucheza Loto Moto na nimefurahia.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Lipa kisha subiri draw.
We'll come back a little later on in this live broadcast. Scorecard is coming up. O'Brien hosting alongside Mariambo. You don't want to miss that. Let's move on now. The healthcare service providers have been cautioned against denying National Health Insurance Fund beneficiaries health services. Acting NHIF Chief Executive Officer Dr. Samson Kuhora is urging the providers to uphold their contractual obligations as government works to ensure speedy payments of funds.
In recent weeks, NHIF-approved healthcare providers have been accused of turning down patients owing to non-remittance of funds by the Health Insurance Fund. It is this emerging trend that the acting NHIF Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Samson Kuhora, is questioning healthcare service providers against.
I would like to mention that this is actually a violation of the contractual provisions that we have with the hospitals. They've raised the concerns in terms of payments, but we have contractual obligations and we made it very clear that payments is a continuous process.
Kuhora, who was in Kisumu for a 2-day consultative meeting with leadership from the Central Organization of Trade Unions, said the new financing model is cost-effective and will ensure patients with chronic illnesses will access medical care.
Some of the challenges that we are having is in terms of the cash flows coming in. So there are several initiatives that we've taken up.
At the same time, he said the government has shifted its focus towards preventive health as opposed to curative services to reduce the cost of treatment.
For example, cancer management. Most of the cases are presenting in stage 3, stage 4, where the intervention is significantly more expensive and it's more intensive, so the outcomes might not be as good. So by having early interventions, we are able to get better returns on what is being spent out.
Additionally, the fund is looking into ways of sealing loopholes that have seen incidences of medical fraud thrive over the years, crippling the national health insurer financially.
So there is an ongoing exercise on employer compliance. It's expected to take about 3 weeks, and the net effect of it is that we expected to generate about 712 million in revenues from those employers who've not been compliant over the last 3-4 years.
By making sure that they seal loopholes of spillage of public funds so that NHIF remains a formidable organization to
The health insurer has asked for patience among service providers as it settles claims. For Prime Edition from Kisumu County, I am Wycliffe Okage.
Into the corridors of justice, Justice David Majanja has disqualified himself from hearing a lawsuit where a British national has sued Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Anne Amadi, over an alleged 89 million shillings gold scam. Justice Majanja recused himself from the case, saying that he could not continue hearing it since he sits in the Judicial Service Commission, where Amadi is, of course, the secretary to that commission.
Following the withdrawal of Justice Majanja from the case, Chief Registrar of Judiciary Anne Amadi and her son Brian Ocheng, through lawyers Ocheng Odol and Sam Nyaberi, urged the court to vacate the orders freezing their personal accounts pending the hearing and determination of the case. However, the judge declined to vacate the freezing orders, saying it will be dealt with by Justice Alfred Mboya on Wednesday, May 24, 2023. Elsewhere, an expert in procurement witness has told the court during cross-examination that Oryx Service Station, belonging to the then Samburu Governor Moses Lenal Kulal, was engaged directly in a local purchase order.
As the appointing authority, as well as the Chief Executive Officer of the county, he had influence on accounting officer who are awarding and approving this particular payment.
The former county boss is accused of awarding irregular tenders to his automotive fuel station during his tenure amounting to 84.6 million.
In the procurement processes, as alleged in this declaration, then he ought to have declared for each and every tender that they are awarded to supply.
During cross-examination, Joel Kisa had a difficult time explaining the transition of the signatories in the bank account and the method used during the tendering process.
Was there any change in the mandate thereafter?
As signatory, yes, or mandate in ownership? As signatory, the change only happened in around October 2015. When Moses Kasaini pulled out and now Hesbondati remained.
However, the Director of Public Prosecution, County Secretary, has since indicated there was no money lost in the county. Ruth Wamboy for Prime Edition.
Government is planning to embark on a digital identification sensitization program to enable a smooth transition into full government operations. Speaking during the 7th edition of this augmented general meeting of the ID for Africa movement, Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo emphasized that the government will fast-track the shift to digital platforms. Why? To enhance connectivity and also improve government services.
The 3-day 7th edition of the augmented general meeting of the ID Africa movement kicked off in earnest with attendees drawn from across the world. Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo highlighting key steps the government was taking in realizing the digital identity for all by 2030.
We are rolling out 100,000 kilometers of fiber to ensure that those parts of the country that hitherto were not connected get adequate supply of reliable and affordable internet.
We are now transitioning from second generation ID to third generation ID. And that the third generation ID is what we are calling digital identity, or in another name, UPI, Unique Personal Identifier.
The CS further made a clarion call to the private sector to partner with the government.
As government, we envisage that we'll only be able to undertake 52% of our programs. The remaining 48% we are leaving to the private sector.
I want to believe the developers, the development partners need to pay particular attention, because as we transition towards digital identity, cybersecurity becomes central in all this in the entire ecosystem.
The conference also saw various exhibitions from different industry players in the digital identification sector display their wares.
And the idea is that you can enroll and identify an individual from the distance of 1.2 meters. Look into the camera, and from that distance, we're able to take his picture of his face and iris.
So we do passport systems, IDs, election systems.
We are a provider of software solution for the digital ID, and digital ID is a cornerstone of the digital economy.
President William Ruto is expected to give a keynote speech on digital identity in the country on Wednesday. Serafine Robi for Prime Edition.
Ekaterra Tea Company has suspended operations until further notice following the escalating cases of insecurity in the farm. In a joint statement between Ekaterra and Kenya Tea Growers Association read by the Kenya Tea Growers Association, National Chairman Silas Njimbakwale noted that operations will remain suspended until security is guaranteed.
The multinational tea firm, which owns vast tea fields, has called off its operations following the heightened invasion and destruction of property. In a joint statement between Ekaterra and Kenya Tea Growers Association, read by the Kenya Tea Growers Association National Chairman Silas Njimbakwale, the group said the escalation of insecurity in the farms has led to organized assaults on business premises and deliberate destruction of crucial assets.
Ekaterra Tea Kenya PLC is extremely concerned about the recent developments surrounding its tea operations in Kericho and Bomet counties. The safety of their people is of paramount importance to them. So they have suspended their operations until the law enforcement agencies can confirm that it is safe to resume their activities.
He added that despite holding meetings with the leaders from the region and the community, nothing tangible has been realized.
Despite ongoing engagements with the county security teams, the Interior Ministry, local chiefs and elders, the situation has unfortunately worsened.
On Monday, demonstrators torched down tea harvesting machines belonging to Ekaterra and vandalized Equity ATM machine at Brook Trading Center. They also invaded Ketepa headquarters and factory and looted.
Senate is set to consider a report by the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the County Allocation Revenue Bill 2023 ahead of the budget reading that will take place in June. The bill, which provides for the allocation of monies raised nationally among county governments, if passed, will pave the way for the county government's additional allocation bill and respective cash disbursement schedule for the 2023-2024 financial year. This comes as the Senate resumed its plenary sittings Tuesday, with Senate Speaker Amason Kingi challenging the legislators to fully participate on the bills, terming them crucial instruments for the county governments to prepare their budgets for the next financial year. At the same time, senators are pushing to have government procuring entities charged interest rates on delayed payment of goods, works, and also services procured. Okay. The proposals are in a prompt payment bill 2022, which senators say will help to deal with the pending bill's headache.
These are crucial financial instruments that by their nature allocate funds to county governments, and also the passage of these instruments facilitate county governments to prepare their respective budgets in time for the next financial year. That begins on 1st of July. I therefore urge all honorable senators to be available in the Senate to consider and pass these legislative and financial instruments.
The issue of prompt payments and making sure that services consumed by both levels of government, Madam Speaker, are timely paid is a matter that is of urgency.
This bill to me seems like it is addressing government's pending bills. There's something called Government Proceedings Act, which makes it very difficult for anybody who has a claim against the government to sue the government. And even if you sue and you get judgment, you have to go through a very long process through the Attorney General's office to be compensated. And you are totally unable to auction the government. That's one of the issues which now has been addressed in this.
The same issue of a delay in payments has been promoting corruption in county governments, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you cannot be paid without having to part with some small money so that your payment is guaranteed. I want to really thank Senator Mariam for this particular bill, because now we have been able to cure that mischief.
Principal Secretary for Correctional Services Esther Ngero has resigned. Her resignation comes barely 1 week after she was reassigned from the State Department for Performance Management and Delivery Services in the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. In a statement from the Public Service, Ms. Ngero has been described as instrumental in establishing the institutional framework to support the implementation of the Public Service Performance Management and Monitoring for ministries, state departments, and state agencies. A certified accountant by training, Ngero joined the ranks of principal secretaries in December 2022 after almost 2 decades career in the petroleum sector. President William Ruto has conveyed his gratitude to Ms. Ngero for her service to the nation, as he wished her well in her future endeavors. Taking our second break, but we're going to be back shortly. Don't go away.
Cheza Loto Moto.
Kwa majina ni Mohamed Abubakar, nimetoka Machakos. Show ya leo imekuwa mzuri. Kuna mtu ametoka bure. Naweza himiza watu wale wako nje kucheza Loto Moto. Najue hiyo ni sure bet. Hakuna kubahatisha.
Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number weka 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2000. Lipa kisha subiri draw. You don't call anymore. 'Cause I'm so thinking about you. Somebody new. Baby, baby, baby blue. Tell me that you love me, I'm in love with you. I have a heart like a lion, strong like Mount Zion. So Babylon can't never get me down. Gold and green, red, gold and green. Wave the banner from you, know your soul clean. Red, gold and green, red, gold and green. Human race.
Welcome back. Now, there's a widely accepted view that a society that hopes to attain development has to invest in its human capital. A senior research fellow at the Japanese Center for Economic Research, Professor Jun Saito, gives an example of Japan, saying that 125 million population is the foremost resource that is driving the country's economic growth.
Investment in education and a clear strategy on what a country needs in order to achieve growth is its main dividend towards development.
We don't have much natural resources to depend on, and all we have is people.
Japanese researcher and economist Professor Jun Saito says while Japan started off as an agrarian society, the country made huge investments in manufacturing, but soon realized that its main resource lay in people.
Providing a good education opportunities to the people, and also provide them with opportunities to upgrade their skills after they finish schools.
Looking back to his country's evolution over the years, Saito is of the view that imports can ruin an economy.
They gradually implemented liberalization of trade. So they were given some time to prepare for the liberalization of trade. So first they imported technology from abroad, but then gradually started to develop their own technology.
He cites Japan's post-World War II recovery that saw the country come up with a long-term vision and designed policies that would catapult the East Asian nation to sustained economic development. But this is not without a challenge, as Japan now faces a shrinking and aging society.
Be witnessing a negative growth rate in the long term. I don't think we can tolerate that kind of a situation. We need to grow. So we need to think of how we can offset the negative impact coming from aging and the shrinking of the population.
Judith Akolo, Tokyo, Japan.
Churches in Kenya have urged school principals and teachers not to discriminate students based on their religion. The churches say that there should also be no coercion for religious conversations for any students or forced to join an institution faith. Elsewhere in Mount Elgon sub-county, parents and students have been urged to embrace education, this following a low school turnout in that area.
Last year, the Court of Appeal ruled that it is against the law for schools to force students from different religions to follow a particular institution's faith. Speaking during an induction ceremony, Koinange School Chief Principal Susan Kariuki said the school has several Muslim students, and though the school is Anglican church-sponsored, students are not forced to follow Christianity. In Diko village in Gatundu North, Kiambu County, a 14-year-old boy drowned at Kariminu 2 Dam while swimming. Brian Karanja, a former student at Kianguno Secondary School, is said to have been in the company of his 3 male friends when the incident happened. According to his father, Peter Dhuita, on the fateful day, Karanja, who is his youngest son, left home on Sunday afternoon together with his peers. So far, 4 people have perished at the dam.
Tukachukua hatua, tukaenda tukamchukua, tukamtoa. Hakuna fence hapo. Ni open kila. Ni open. Hata naweza kuomba serikali watuwekee fence hapo. Maana watoto wetu wataishi hapo.
In Meru County, leadership wrangles have continued to escalate. North Imenti MP Rahim Dawood has come out criticizing the junior county officers over what he says is disrespecting the Meru County Deputy Governor Isaac Mutuma. Rahim said 2027 politics should not be a factor right now, but instead they should focus their efforts in developing the county.
Wacha wale cabinet ama wale wako chini ya deputy governor wasiongee. Deputy governor amechaguliwa. So county secretary ama county ule chief of staff na wote wasimudharau deputy governor.
Also in Meru County, Miraa farmers and traders have criticized Nakada for listing Miraa as a drug in their recent survey. Led by Moses Nchoro, the chairman of Miraa Growers and Traders Union, the farmers and traders termed the recent report by Nakada listing Miraa as number 3 drug consumed in the country as misleading and aimed at killing the crop, which is the mainstay of most people in the Meru community.
Tulisikia chairman wa Nakada akisema ya kwamba Miraa ni drugs. Tunataka kumwambia leo Miraa si drugs, Miraa ni catch crop kama mayani chai, kama kahawa, kama pyrethrum.
Finally, in Mandera County, Kuwait government has supplied food to 1,000 drought-affected families. The food distribution was conducted in Mandera East and is set to benefit vulnerable households. Yusuf Hamed Abdi, the Deputy Director, Direct Aid, an non-state agency, said the donation was aimed at families in Mandera East Sub-County affected by drought and the recent floods.
Na tunafanya special program ya kama ukami ikija tunaweza kusaidia watu.
Tumekuja hapa leo kusaidia Mandera tani 45 ton.
For Prime Edition, I am Teresa Mutai.
It's now time to look at the day's business, and Betty Kiptum is on set.
Many thanks, Tom Mboya. Just to get the latest in the world of business, as he said, my name is Betty Kiptum. Now, the new Kenya Cooperative Creameries is set to receive 700 million shillings from the National Treasury for mopping up excess milk from the farmers following the onset of the long rains. Cooperatives Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says the amount will be partly spent on boosting operations of the dairy processor as the government ramps up efforts to support farmers and cooperatives.
We had issues, Olkalau Dairy had challenges before. We've intervened, working with our financial institutions, the cooperative bank. I want to report that we are going to restore back that dairy sector. We intervene in Meru, today is the third largest producer. We intervene in KCC, today is the third milk producer. We are doing individual assessment of each value chain with a view of improving. We have had coffee sector, which has had challenges of pricing and markets, and we are working on an elaborate program to transform that sector.
And microfinance institutions should tailor their operations and products for small businesses. Cooperative and Small and Medium Enterprises CS Simon Chelugui says most small businesses are starved of credit and are forced to seek funding elsewhere due to a rigid lending regime adopted by most microfinance institutions.
The latest banking supervision report by Central Bank of Kenya indicates that losses made by microfinance institutions widened to 980 million shillings lost last year from 877 million shillings made in 2021. The loss was attributed to stiff competition from commercial banks and digital lenders. The Cabinet Secretary for Cooperative and MSMEs is urging microfinance institutions to tailor their services to remain key in liquidating small businesses.
Those microfinance can shift now their approach in business to the cooperative model. Then you can begin to see the numbers, you can begin to see the profits in very small circles that began yesterday. They are making profit because they are driven by membership, they are driven by contribution by members, and they are driven by democratic ideals.
To increase financial inclusion, the cooperative movement in Africa is in talks to start a shared platform that will see circles share data and expand services across borders.
I think somebody sat somewhere and disorganized Africa so that we don't trade among ourselves. It's indeed time for us as Africa to reorganize ourselves.
The shared platform is expected to drive the growth of intra-Africa trade by supporting financial transactions and businesses.
In terms of agriculture, in terms of housing, in terms of financial services, we're actually doing much. The emphasis now is that how do we collaborate, come together, leverage on our capacity, leverage on the unity, the oneness of a cooperative to actually maximize this benefit of cooperation. And essentially,
Benson Ruba reporting for Prime Edition.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozartbet.
And now there are just 2 teams left. The cup holders take on Eintracht Frankfurt.
What a header! Danny Olmo!
The Red Bulls.
And
against the Eagles. It's all or nothing time.
It's Soboslai again!
Kick-off on June 3rd.
Kamada!
There can only be one winner.
Colomwani, what a night for RB Leipzig.
Leipzig-Frankfurt, the DFB Cup final.
back. You are watching Prime Edition, and this is the business news now. Talo Oil PLC working interest in South Lokichar Basin will increase from 50% to 100% following the withdrawal of two joint venture partners at the Turkana County-based Project Oil Kenya Development. Talo Kenya BV Managing Director Madan says the full control will give Talo Oil more flexibility in the ongoing process to secure strategic partners and create a simpler joint venture partnership.
Talo Oil PLC and its partners Africa Oil Corp and Total Energies have been under pressure from Kenya to develop the Turkana crude oil wells that can produce up to 120,000 barrels per day once production starts. However, the crude oil production process has not been short of challenges, threatening to throw Kenya's dream of being a crude oil exporter into uncertainty. Oil and gas exploration production firm Talo now says it has acquired complete control of the Turkana County-based Project Oil Kenya Development following the exit of Africa Oil Corp and Total Energies from the project. Talo Oil Management says the assumption of 100% equity position subject to the government's approval will enable them fulfill the government's plan to become an oil exporter. Talo's OilNet project 2C contingent resources are expected to increase from 231 million barrels of crude oil per day to 461 barrels of crude oil per day, taking the group's total contingent resources from 605 barrels of crude oil per day to 836 barrels of crude oil per day. Net capex guidance for 2023 in Kenya will increase from 10 million Canadian dollars to 15 million Canadian dollars, less than 5% of group capex. Finalizing the field development plan process is a high priority program that has seen the National Treasury allocate 651 million shillings to the State Department for Petroleum, geared at advancing Project Oil Kenya. The State Department for Petroleum is set to finalize the field development plan for the South Lokichar oil field, review, demarcate and gazette a new block map in view of the anticipated bid rounds during the period.
And Kenyans will now be able to purchase Ghanaian products, including premium textiles, agricultural products, processed foods, shea-based natural cosmetics locally, following the launch of the Ghana Trade House. Director of International Trade, Oliver Konje, says the initiative is a platform for Kenyan businesses to engage with Ghanaian exporters and explore potential partnerships and collaborations to boost intra-African trade.
Kenya is strong in producing cocoa or coffee. You are strong in producing cocoa. We are buying expensive chocolate from Europe. Why don't you make this chocolate cheaper for us?
Presence of the Ghana Trade House in Kenya signifies a giant step towards regional integration within Africa. And it puts serious action. We have put serious actions behind our words and highlight the commitment to promoting intra-Africa trade and cooperation. Other countries on the continent can also foster similar initiatives, creating a network of trade houses that facilitate trade and economic integration at the regional level.
And that's the business news this evening. My name is Betty Kiptum. Back to you, Tom.
Many thanks indeed, Betty. Well, it's now time to have a look at sports. I can see on the other side, Karen Kibet is all ready, and she will be updating us a little later on after this short break, bringing you the latest in the world of sports. So do stay with us.
The cup with the golden ticket. Mozart Bet Cup, 2 million shillings. CAF Confederations Cup. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet Cup.
Welcome back. My name is Karen Kibet. Let's now take a look at what's making headlines in the world of sports. The National Rugby Sevens head coach Damien McGrath says the loss of 2 key players to injury and suspension cost the team during their playoff final against Canada. Speaking at JKIA after the team returned from London, where they bowed out of the IRB circuit, McGrath said structures need to be looked into so as to bounce back into earnest, proposing several changes to be made. McGrath said it won't be easy for Kenya to go through qualification rounds to regain the core status.
The Kenya national rugby team is back in the country after losing their core status in the World Series. Shujaa was beaten 7-12 by Canada on Sunday evening and was relegated from the World Series. The Kenyan team did not collect any points from the London leg and ended the season with 40 points, amassed from the previous 10 legs, including Toulouse, which was played just before London. Kenya began the London leg with a narrow 24-19 win over Canada in the first pool playoff match before beating Tonga 38-26 in their second encounter. Kenya tumbled against Uruguay, suffering a 14-10 loss before going down to Canada 12-7. The season ended with Kenya sitting in position 13 on the table behind Uruguay. New Zealand were crowned champions of the 2022-2023 season with a massive 200 points, 21 points better than Argentina, who finished second. Fiji, France and Australia settled for 3rd to 5th positions, while the other African side, South Africa, ended the season in position 7 with just 120 points.
Darajani Gogo FC is hopeful of attaining promotion to the top flight at the conclusion of this year's National Super League. The Kibera-based outfit is currently ranked 6th on the standings and will face MCF tomorrow in their 26th round at the Machakos Stadium.
Darajani Gogo is seeking promotion to the Kenyan Premier League with the team 9 points adrift of promotion places with 7 matches to go. A win against 10th place MCF will see Darajani climb to 5th place, 6 points adrift of 3rd place to Migori Youth.
Na place tuko kama team sahi at least imeleta sauti. So wase wana come watakuwa na hii team ni gani, Darajani Gogo ni team gani. Juu tumekuwa wageni na wewe tuna perform ni kama tumekuwa kwa hiyo league. So mimi nadhani motivation inatoka na wachezaji na technical bench. Ukiangalia in-house kuna happiness.
Sisi ni vijana wadogo, hizi timu zingine wako na experience nini, but sisi ni vijana wadogo 23, 20, 17. So unapata mobility yetu iko juu.
Hapo tuseme tunaamua hakuna kulose. Ikiwa mbaya ni draw, lakini hata draw hapana. Ni win. Lakini sasa hivi games awe pia lazima tushinde.
The club's leading scorer Rashid Moyo, who has netted 12 goals in 25 games, credits his rich form to relentless effort from his teammates, even as he remains on course of achieving his set targets.
Form iko na ni feeling poa kuscore juu kiscore unasaidia team. Target ilikuwa nikiwa mbaya nifike about 20. Ndio ilikuwa target na bado siwezi sema imepotea. Jubado game 7 pia ni possible juu ni game mob.
Head coach Caleb Aringa, who was appointed last in October, says the camaraderie in the squad has been key to the team's impressive run.
The boys love each other. We love each other. Cohesion in working together. We do a lot of S4Ds just to combat social aspects of the game, but we also insist on a lot of technical and tactical aspects of the game. So the passing has to send a message.
Aringa was guarded on the team's prospects, saying apart from seeking to gain promotion to the Premier League, the club aims to promote football in Kibra and help the youth escape the social ills.
Darajani Gogo is a reformed team. So there were some challenges in the community and we're trying to work with them while also showing the best we can do with our talent. So these people are also talented. How can we use that talent to impact the community?
Promise 7, tumewapromisile kidogo chetu na ndo tunawapatia. So that is one of the thing. Unajua ukienda kama timu mingi utapromisiwa sijui signing fee, utapromisiwa sijui utapatiwa tuseme 1,000 kibao pale, alafu at the end of the day ukifika pale unakosa. So ile kuachieve ile dream yako inakuwa so hard.
The club prides itself in playing what Aringa described as modern football, saying the team however needs to toughen mentally so as to win away matches.
They are teams that are result oriented, that want that, and sometimes our kindness and our lack of character in terms of winning makes it difficult for us to get the result that we desire, especially going to the West. Those have been tough ones. We still haven't mastered. It's our first time going to the West, so we've lost almost all the games we've played there, except one for Vihiga. And sometimes football doesn't need niceness. There's some mental toughness that is needed.
Darajani Gogo was formed in 2015 and gained promotion to the NSL last season. Bernard Okumu, Primetime Edition.
Thank you, Okumu, for that report. Moving on, national volleyball champions Kenya Pipeline failed to lift the African Club Championship Women Trophy for the 7th time in their history after they were beaten 3-1 by Egyptian team Zamalek in the final. Zamalek started the match on a high note, winning the first set 25-22. The Kenyan Queens, however, responded strongly, winning the second set 18-25 to tie the score. The Egyptians got back in the lead, clinching the third set 25-15 before winning the fourth and final set 25-17 to win the match and lift the trophy. This was the first time Zamalek were participating in the championship and are now the second Egyptian team to lift the trophy after Al Hilali. Pipeline, who finished second, and KCB, who were fourth, will return home tomorrow morning. Newcastle United qualified for the UEFA Champions League for the first time in 20 years despite playing to a goalless draw with relegation-threatened Leicester City. In Italy, Juventus were thrashed 4-1 by Empoli in a Serie A match played at the Stadio Carlo Castellani.
In 2 decades. The result was sufficient for the Magpies to make a long-awaited return to the competition next season and doom Leicester to the relegation zone, 2 points adrift of safety, with fate now out of their hands. In Italy, giants Juventus were humbled 4-1 by Empoli in a Serie A match played in Tuscany. Caputo put the host into the lead in the 18th minute from the penalty spot before Luperto doubled their lead 3 minutes later.
Caputo in, one-handed save, and then it's Luperto!
Caputo scored a second and Empoli's third immediately after the restart. Federico Chiesa scored a consolation goal for Juventus 5 minutes from time, only for Roberto Piccolo with 59 points.
And that story brings us to the end of the sports news tonight. My name is Karen Kibet. I'll see you tomorrow with more sports news. Don't go too far because right after this short break, my colleague Tom Mboya will be back with more news.